It is through the Holy Spirit teaching us that we can become more like Christ. That means it is not of our own doing that we become changed into the image of God. 2 Corinthians 4-6. For God, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ. 2 Corinthians 3:18. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. 1 John 2:6. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. It is not about trying to be good, rather it is the gifts that the Spirit of God gives us. 1 Corinthians 12-111. Now about the gifts of the Spirit, brothers and sisters, I do not want you to be uninformed. You know that when you were pagans, somehow or other you were influenced and led astray to mute idols. Therefore I want you to know that no one who is speaking by the Spirit of God says, "Jesus be cursed," and no one can say, "Jesus is Lord," except by the Holy Spirit. There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone, it is the same God at work. Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom. To another a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by that one Spirit, to another miraculous powers, to another prophecy, to another distinguishing between spirits, to another speaking in different kinds of tongues, and to still another the interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determines. As we walk with God, it is the Spirit of God that teaches us, 2 Timothy 3:17, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. Romans 12-1-2. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. 2 Corinthians 3:1-8. None of our faces are covered with a veil. All of us can see the Lord's glory and think deeply about it. So we are being changed to become more like Him so that we have more and more glory. And this glory comes from the Lord, who is the Holy Spirit. Romans 8:29. For those whom He foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, in order that He might be firstborn among many brothers. 1 Corinthians 9:22-5. To the Jews I became like a Jew, to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak I became weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. 1 Corinthians 11:1. Be imitators of me, as I am of Christ. John 3:30. He must increase, but I must decrease. Ephesians 5:1-2. And walk in love, as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Through God's grace, we have been saved by faith. Being changed also comes from God as His Spirit leads us. As we fill our spiritual cup with the Scriptures, the Holy Spirit does a work in our hearts, and we become more and more like Him as we continue to grow in Him.